Let me tell you something. These A's podcasts are a lot more fun to do when they're winning.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we talk about your Oakland A's as long as they remain rooted in Oakland and wherever they're going to wind up after that. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as my lower third tells you, you can call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I have been the host of the Locked On MLB podcast since 2019. This is my first year taking over here at the flagship A's show. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. If you are listening to us every day, hey, put on that hashtag every day so we get a sense of who is listening to us every day, because believe it or not, it actually kind of sort of helps. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, as always, apply. Hey, I'm going to take a quick note just to give a quick shout out to someone who is following us on Twitter and following the show. Vegas A's fan and I have been having a little bit of an exchange on YouTube and on Twitter. Vegas A's fan, I think you will you can use context clues to figure out where this fan is from. I was going to say he, but I'm not sure. It could be a he, she. I don't know how you identify yourself, Vegas A's fan. You're just an anonymous handle. But we've been going a little bit back and forth, just not arguing, just sort of discussing things. And Vegas A's fan gave me a bunch of links and things to look at to basically defend Vegas's position, because he feels, or Vegas A's fan, the person feels, I don't want to offend anyone, I'm not in the offending business, feels that I've been a little harsh on the A's prospects in Las Vegas, and that some of the media has been skewed against the A's, against Las Vegas as a landing spot. And I promise you, I'm going to read through everything you sent me. I'm going to look it over. I'm going to cross-reference stuff, because I don't want to have a discussion where two people are screaming hyperbole at each other. I'd rather have something where it's based on fact. And I have said before, while I am not a fan of the move to Las Vegas, clearly, and I don't think of Las Vegas as a potentially good market, if they do move there, and it's a gigantic if at this point, but if they do move there, I do hope it's a success. I do hope it is successful. Baseball doesn't need a market where they're not succeeding. So, but I am going to look it over. I'm not ignoring it. I am going to look things over and talk about it. But first and foremost, let's talk about the fun thing. You know what the A's have in common with every other team in their division? Every other team in the division, the American League West, has a negative run differential. The Seattle Mariners are in first place. They have a 4-game losing streak. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. That means they've picked up 2 games on the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers, who, say it with me right now as of this recording, are 5 games under 500. The Houston Astros are 6 games under 500. So the A's being 10 games under 500 isn't so bad. They're only 3 games in the loss column behind the Texas Rangers right now. And we are heading into Memorial Day. And as I say left and right on the Locked On MLB show, Memorial Day is really the first checkpoint of the season. Really the first time you can take a look at your team and say, what are we? Well, I know what the A's are. They're not very good, but neither is the division. And it would only take a modest winning streak and a modest losing streak by Seattle to suddenly pull the team kind of closer to contention, which none of us thought they were going to have this year. But today was a kind of a game where everything worked today. Did you notice that? This was a game where just about everything worked. The A's jumped out early. They got the 2-run double by Rooker in the first inning. Then Cameron added to the lead. Cameron's been, I've loved Cameron on the team. Daz Cameron. He drove in yet another run. This is his second run bat, and he hit the home run the other day. The game-tying home run in the weird game against Colorado. And, Toro got a hit, scored a run. Rooker got on base twice. Brown got 2 hits and scored a run. McCann got a hit and a walk. Cameron, as I mentioned, got a single and walked. Brown stole a base, and the starting pitching was good. Sears did a very good job today. Went 6 innings. He only let up 2 hits, 1 run. It was unearned. He only walked 1 batter. And did you notice something? Because in the 7th and 8th inning, the Astros were rallying. And I thought, and you thought, they were going to take the lead because they got runners on base. And you're just saying, oh boy, here's where it falls apart. Here's where today falls apart. Like, what happened on Friday against Verlander. The A's got the early lead, and I was thinking, you're thinking, oh, wow, if they win this game, then they had the one bad inning. They had the one bad inning where they left the 2 homers and everything fell apart. And they chipped back to 6-3, and it looked like they may make a run at it. But it was just that one freaking inning screwed up the whole game yesterday. And I thought the 7th of the 8th inning was just sitting there, looming there as the inning that it's all going to be messed up. And Adams, let up the hit, and Urseg got him out of that jam. But then Alexander had to get Urseg out of the jam in the 8th inning. And then it was Miller time. Now, Miller's ERA jumped above 2 after the weird, game against Colorado the other day. And it was the first day that he imploded. And it was bound to happen. And if you're going to implode in a game that you weren't expecting to pitch in, that the team wins anyway. Okay? But I was thinking like, oh boy. I'm glad they got him in the first chance they could get. But like, okay, please, just don't have that be a harbinger. Don't have that be the pumpkins turned in, the carriages turned back into the pumpkin. I'm sorry, the pumpkins turned into the carriage would be a good thing. Oh, please. Don't this have be the beginning of the end. Because a lot of times you see a pitcher come out of the gate like gangbusters. No one can hit him. Then a couple of people read a scouting report, and all of a sudden, stonk, they're back in. They're sending him back to the farm. And he got a 3-2 count in the first batter he faced. I think, oh God, he's going to walk him. The Astros are going to go and blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look at his line. 1 inning pitched, no runs, no hits, no walks, 3 batters faced. He struck all 3 of them out. He wiggled out of that, the first batter where he got three balls on him. And in the end, Miller threw 15 pitches, 11 of them were strikes, and basically after getting the 3-2 count in the first batter, he only threw 1 more pitch out of the strike zone. Everything, bam, 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 Miller time again, and that's wonderful. It's fantastic because right now the Astros are not that much better than the A's. The Astros have only 1 more win than the A's. The Rangers only have 2 more wins than the A's. Freaking Seattle only has 5 more wins than the A's. Again, I'm not saying the A's are a contending ball club. They have a .407 winning percentage. They have the geography is in their good graces right now because they're in the West. And the 2 things that I've wanted, let's make it 3. And can they do this as we approach the first checkpoint? I would love them to not lose 100 games. I would love them to not finish in last place. You don't want to have the last year in Oakland them being a last place 100 loss team. And I would love it if, with the cooperation of a slumping Seattle, a dead from the neck up Astros, and a confused Texas Ranger team, if those 3 teams can continue to wander through the woods and Angels, you keep screwing up like you do, then maybe the stars can align, the Rubik's Cube can be turned, the Stargate can be locked in, that for at least one day, the A's spend one day in a playoff spot after Memorial Day. If that can happen, holy cow, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be better than anyone thought this team would have? Well, all they got to do tomorrow is win a game. Because guess what happens when you win games? You win a bunch of them, that's when you start winning series. All right, let's talk a little bit to our friends over at Game Time. I've been urging all of you A's fans to go out to the ballpark. You're not supporting Fisher. You're supporting the team and getting yourself memories. Have another great day at the Oakland Coliseum. All right? And one way to do that is to get your tickets. Get them through Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. It makes getting tickets faster and easier, and the prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. So if you're feeling, well, I don't know if I'm going to go today, I don't know if I'm going to go today. Oh, look at that. Inexpensive ticket. But is it a good seat? You're at the Oakland Coliseum. I don't know if you saw the video I made when I was at the Coliseum. Even though there was nobody there, I still had an usher saying, hey, not your seat, move on. So you want to get the best seats you can. And you're like, okay, is it in the right spot? I know where I like to sit. I like to sit not in the upper deck, but the middle deck, kind of along the, behind home plate, but a little bit up the first base line. That's my favorite view of the game. And so I use the Game Time app, and you can get seat views. You get a panoramic view from the seat, so you get an idea of exactly what your seat is going to look like. And I use the zone deals because I could say to Game Time, look, this is right around where I want to sit. So give me the best deal in this area. Boom, you get it. And the fabulous thing is it's all in pricing. Okay, there's no hidden fees. Doesn't play games with you, and you get Game Time ticket coverage that's covered and with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing world. I can't even talk right now. That's how much I love this. Here's what you got to do. I got to give you the call to action. You got to take the guesswork out of buying your Major League Baseball tickets and going to the Coliseum. You got to use Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You got to have those terms. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. The lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. They're guaranteed. That is the Game Time way. Hey, where are you getting your sports news, your sports takes, your sports stories? You need to do you need to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program to give you the biggest sports stories in all the world. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Well, my new friend, Vegas A's fan on the Twitterverse and on the YouTubeverse, is giving me lots of articles and things to look through. I have seen that there has been, according to the Los Angeles Times, not a Bay Area newspaper, the Los Angeles Times. Don't we go out on a limb and say this isn't a Bay Area biased source. An article in the LA Times has shown that there is in the stadium agreement, the A stadium agreement that is brought forth through the Nevada legislature that was passed to allow the A's to come to Las Vegas. It already has an escape clause for the A's, and apparently this would be for a 30-year time frame for the A's to come to Las Vegas, and there is a clause that will allow the A's to leave Las Vegas, pull a Nicolas Cage and go leaving Las Vegas if the A's are taxed differently or have a change in the taxation. And the article quotes a sports law professor by the name of Martin Greenberg, who says, this is not normal. That to have an escape clause like this in the contract is not a normal thing. And basically, there's all sorts of things that are, oddly, uh, you know, oddly taxed in Vegas based upon gaming laws, and you're earning money on this betting. All this, it's all odd. You saw Godfather 2. You know that there's the people are in bed with Lord knows what, and everything is going on there. Um, and it just shows that there is a chance to have them break out of it if there is a type of taxation that gets changed on them. And you're getting the sense that there are tax breaks that are being thrown around and public money that's being thrown around for the A's to arrive there. This is one of the reasons why I don't like having public money being involved in any of these stadium ventures, any of them. Because, first of all, it's not a public enterprise. It's a private palace for a billionaire. That's what it is. And it's not like you can use the park for public use. And the BS of, oh, it brings lots to the economy. That's complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense. Now, again, Fisher's a billionaire. If he says, I'm going to build a ballpark in Las Vegas, I bought the land, I'm building the park, and he meets all the zoning regulations, okay. But if there's all these other things that are moving around that allow public money and taxing this and this and that and the other thing, this is one of the things that right away, if I'm Vegas, I'm thinking like this, just something about this just isn't fitting right. Everything we're learning about Fisher hasn't been great, and you're already looking at the exit door. I, I'm I'll read everything, Vegas A's fan, but everything seems odd. And do you want? I'll even have it. That it's not about just keeping the Bay Area. I've said over and over again that ship sailed. They're gone. We all know that. And as I've said before, the history of baseball, Major League Baseball in the Bay Area, has shown that it's probably not a two-team market. It could have been the A's if some things had gone differently in the early 90s, but they didn't, and it's now the Giants. But man, Utah is still acting like they want to do this. Utah, the exact opposite of Vegas, is looking once again. They're looking to try to raise, uh, public money, which I'm not a big fan of. But you know, Utah was trying. Salt Lake City was trying to pitch them in their brand new minor league ballpark as a temporary home for the A's, but they're trying to uh, build a waterfront community. And for some reason, the renderings for the waterfront community and stadium in Salt Lake City are more detailed and seem to be more grounded in reality than anything happening at the Tropicana spot in Las Vegas. And the A's would have a natural rival with the Rockies, especially if baseball does what they should obviously do, which is realign. The nanosecond you got rid of the DH, or you created the universal DH, something I've never been a fan of. I've liked that you had the two leagues that played a different style of baseball, but I understand it was either universal DH or a prolonged lockout in 2021. I held my nose and I say, okay, the National League has a DH. I miss National League Baseball, but since there's absolutely no difference between the American League and the National League anymore, and they play each other all the time, let's realign. And as I've said on Locked On B, create 4 divisions with 8 teams in each division. That means expanding by 2. And that would mean the A's and the Rockies would be in the same division. And if they're the Utah A's, that makes for a really obvious rival. With realignment, Denver and Las Vegas could also become a rival, but there's something about the two, Rocky Mountain cities that I think would be pretty appealing. I still think they're going to remain in Sacramento. I promise to read everything. I'm a man of my word. I read things, and if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. But if you're already looking at the exit door and the stadium renderings are more accurate in Salt Lake City. Yeah, this is this is all just so weird. Hey, let's talk to our friends over at Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy to use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands as you get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. What a concept. Pros in the skill trade can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. That's supplyhouse.com. This is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports streaming channel that is available on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV on the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today gives you the best stories, the best analysis, the best takes from the local extras of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. It's funny that there were so many great star second basemen who saw their way through Oakland during the 1980s. The Dodgers had, from the mid 70s right to the end of the 80s, constantly had an all-star second baseman. Now they had Davey Lopes was part of that infield of Lopes at second, Garvey at first, Bill Russell, no, not that one, the other one at short, and Ron Say. They were the starting infield of the Dodgers. They all came up through the Spokane Indians, which were the minor league team of the Dodgers. They all came up and were the Dodger infield when they went to the World Series in '74, and they stayed together through the 1981 World Series. For nearly a decade, the starting infield of the Dodgers did not change, and Davey Lopes was an absolute staple as an all-star, a National League all-star, and a beloved member of that Dodger team that went to several World Series and finally winning it all in that weird strike year of 1981. He was an all-star in 78, 79, 80, and 81. He had 28 home runs as a second baseman in 1979 and twice led the league in stolen bases. He had power, he had speed, he was a big-time clutch hitter, he was a Gold Glove second baseman, and all of the above. But the emergence of Steve Sax, who was a star minor league player in the Dodger system, in 1981, Sax was part of the team that went to the World Series and won, but he was a reserve to Davey Lopes. And the Dodgers basically at that point broke up their legendary infield to make room for Sax. In order to do that, in the spring training of 1982, the Oakland A's, who at the time were managed by Billy Martin, sent a minor leaguer named Lance Hudson packing. He was an outfielder, second baseman. He was sent packing to LA in exchange for Lopes. He never got to the major leagues. And under manager Billy Martin, who was quite a second baseman himself, Davey Lopes' first year with the A's was not really that memorable. He played in 128 games. He did hit 11 home runs. He did steal 28 bases. But the A's were a little bit, they had a down year, especially after their exciting 1981 season. And it was a disappointing season for Lopes. When Martin left, Lopes actually had a good 1983. He had 17 home runs, which is the most home runs he hit since 1979. He stole 22 bases, and at age 38 was a spark plug for the squad. Now, midway through 84, he played with the A's and then was traded to the Cubs, where he played in the playoffs with the Cubs. And then later in 86 was traded to the Astros, where he played the postseason with the Astros, and where he set a record for most stolen bases for someone over the age of 35, which was later trounced by Rickey Henderson. The reason why Davey Lopes was let go and wound up moving to Chicago at his time with the A's was because the A's brought in another legendary second baseman who was Joe Morgan, who I talked about his time with the A's in a previous episode. And not long after that, Willie Randolph made a cameo with the A's, and after that, Steve Sax. So the three all-star second basemen for the Dodgers between 1973 and 1989, who were Lopes, Sax, and Willie Randolph, all made cameos with the Oakland A's. Eventually, Davey Lopes became a manager and a coach in the major leagues, not with the A's. He didn't make the Hall of Fame, but had a fantastic superstar all-star career, and one that I bet you forgot for a period of time had him in an Oakland uniform. Well, look, I'm dropping this episode on Sunday morning, so we're going to see if the A's can win against the Astros and win that series and go into Memorial Day on a bit of a run winning series. So, talking about Miller having his game, Sears pitching well, and is it going to be Vegas? Is it going to be Sacramento? Is it going to be Salt Lake City? I don't know. And do you know what? Honestly, neither do you. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.